The International Monetary Fund says sub-Saharan Africa's accelerating economic growth is expected to be broad-based through the end of the year. Strong domestic demand and resurgent exports are projected to boost growth as high as 5.5%. VOA's Paul Ndiho has more.
Economists say sub-Saharan Africa was in a strong economic position going into the global financial slowdown. This allowed fiscal and monetary policies to be put in place to soften the impact of the global downturn. For countries that were hit hard by the crisis, Antoinette Say, IMF Regional Director for Africa, offers this advice.
Now that the growth seems to be in hand and returning, and recovery is returning, it's important that the authorities now work to rebuild those savings that they used in the course of the crisis, so that when the next crisis hits, they're able again to draw on their reserves and their savings to respond. So that's really the challenge ahead, to continue good macroeconomic policies to rebuild, as we call them, the policy buffers that have helped so much during this crisis.
In Africa, domestic demand is expected to remain strong on the basis of rising real incomes and investment. And many African governments have implemented investment-friendly frameworks to attract more foreign capital.
Sub-Saharan Africa needs investment. A large part of that investment in the social sectors and some infrastructure investments will depend on the public sector, but most investment should come from the private sector. And so the challenge going forward will be for sub-Saharan African governments to improve the enabling environment for private investments, so that they continue to attract capital from abroad.
Antoinette says that there is still work to be done in Africa to enable business and business startups.
Despite the fact that there's been tremendous progress in these areas, it still takes too long to establish new businesses in many countries, and there's still significant work to be done to make sure that the private sector is able to make the long-term investments and commitment that are needed to sustain growth.
Analysts say that in recent years, international trade has increased exponentially, but Africa's share in world trade remained low. Africa accounts for only 3% of world exports, partly due to trade protection outside Africa against African products. Paul Ndiho, VOA News.
Well, for more information on any of today's stories, please visit us online at voaafrica.com, and you can also visit us on Facebook. Just search for In Focus.